So I will be showing you more ways in which we can, do a date and a time format. But first, I will take you to Microsoft SQL Server documentation, which lists out all the different ways in which we can use a date format. I will provide you the link as well to to this documentation, but I figure we try and Google that together as well. It looks like a lot of people have been checking for who won the ticket. But anyways, yeah, so I will type in cast and convert SQL Server. Okay. And the first link should be a Microsoft link. And like I said, I'll provide this link for you as well. And when we click on that, now it shows us this cast and convert. And you might be thinking, what is this? Because we've not talked about this before. But we'll get to this in a minute. But for now, just scroll down, as what I want to really show you is this part where it talks about date and time styles. So if we scroll down, it's showing us all these codes or these numbers, and it's showing us what it calls input and output, and you're probably wondering what's all of this. Now, these are different ways in which we can manipulate or tweak our date and time values, and some of this we've seen already. So if we look at, we won't get into the details yet, but if you just look at this place where it shows MMDDYY, this is saying, this is really just saying that you can display a date, a date value by MMDDYY, which shows 2 digits of month, 2 digits of days, and 2 digit year. But what it's also showing is that there's this number one. So it's saying 1 equals to MMDDYY. And we will practice this shortly. If you look at this, it says input. So it's telling us that if we input 1, it will give us MMDDYY. If we input 2, it will give us YYMMDD. And so you could either, so you have the option for 1 or 101. So either this 1 or 101 or 2 or 102. And they are supposed to, whether if you use 1, it gives you 2 digits year. If you use 101, it gives you the 4 digit year, and you can see the differences between the two. It still returns the day, the same value, except that the year is different. Here you have 2 digits, you have 4 digits. Here you have 2 digits, you have 4 digits, and if you keep going down all the way, that's sort of what's happening there. So I will switch over to SQL Server, and then I will explain what all of this is. Let's go ahead and open the new query box, and I'll just call this more date formats. And there's still date functions as well. Okay. So the first one is, let's print out the current date and time. So select get date, and this prints out the current date and the current time. But let's format this date, or the return value, to show the month, the day, and the year. And I'll show you what I mean. And we've done this already. So select format, one get date. And now we want the month, so it will be uppercase M. We want the day, so lowercase d. And we want the year, and let's use 4, and instead of I would use // and we'll close our string. Okay, and execute. Alright, so we have our month, we have our day, and we have our year. Now let's switch over to the Microsoft SQL Server documentation. And I'm just going to switch over here. So what this is saying is this. it's telling us that we can input the number 1, and by inputting the number 1, it will give us this value. So in other words, if I go back to my SQL Server, it's saying that I can replace all of this that we typed, all of this format that we've indicated, right? Because if you remember, the syntax for format and date time is, it's really just, we have format, the keyword, and then we have the value, which is what we want to format, and then the type of format we want to, we want this to be printed out, right? Going to comment that out, which is what we have here. We have a get date, which is retrieving the current date and time, and this is how we want it to be formatted. But then in the documentation, it's telling us that, well, we can input number 1, and if we do that, it returns this value, right? So you will think all we need to do then is we can, gonna copy this, is that we can swap all of this, right, with 1. And then if we run this, this is supposed to then give us a month, day, and year. But then it's telling us that no, the data type int is invalid for argument 2. What we can focus on is telling us that this is a wrong data type. And the reason it's telling us is this. Normally, when we return this value, as we know, right, if we return this value, because this is this, right, it's giving us all of this, which is not an integer. Remember, it's a string because we're putting all of this in quotation, in quotes. And the reason is because we have like all this semicolon, dash, and all of that. So it's not an integer. It is a string value, once it's imputed, inserted in single quotes, right? But now by just entering 1, it's not going to work. There's SQL Server isn't it's just trying to figure out this is an integer, but you're telling me to print out a date and time value. So the way around that is we would have to convert this data type, the integer data type, we have to convert it into a string data type for this to work. And that's why when we look at this, it's telling us at the very top, cast and convert. Now, cast and convert, they're two different commands, and they do pretty much the same thing. They're used to, if you look at the definition here, these functions convert an expression of one data type to another. So let's say we have a date time, or let's make it easy. Let's say we have an int data type. We can use this function to change that data type into a string data type or a decimal data type, whichever data type we want to change it into. Okay, so the way to get around this problem is that we have to use a convert. In this case, we have to use convert to change this result set such that when we then use 1, it gives us this. And I'm going to write out the query and we'll go through it together. Now let's take a look at the syntax to use the convert syntax, and it's right here. And I'm just going to copy it from here, and let's switch over to SQL Server, and I'll paste it here and comment this out. So the syntax for convert is we have the convert keyword. We have the data type that we want to convert. So right now, hypothetically speaking, we're trying to convert an integer into a varchar, into a string data type varchar. So we have the convert keyword. We have the new data type. In our case, would be varchar. We have the length, which would be, varchar 50, varchar 100, the maximum length that can be contained within that data type. And then the expression would be, for instance, the column that we want to, if we want to get the current date and time, it would be a get date, or it could be a column within our table. And then the style is the number that we see listed here 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to write out the query again first, and then we'll go through it together. Right? So, okay. Let's take a look at this query. So we have our usual select, then the syntax to convert from one data type to another data type is what we have here. So we have the convert keyword. What's the new data type that we want to convert into? Varchar. We want to convert into a string data type, and the length is 50, which is the maximum number of characters that can be within that column. We have the expression, which is getDate, which is what we want to retrieve the current date and time value, right? But then we want to format that, that value that we retrieve from getDate with this style, which is style1. And style1, if we look at our documentation, we print out DD, and YY. And we have all of this, and it's the same here. We have all the style 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 22. And I think if you scroll further down, there might be others as well. Okay. So when we run this, execute, now it gives us the month, the day, and the year. Similar to when I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to paste it here, and because this is going to give us 4-digit year, so I'm going to delete 2, and let's run these two together. So we get exactly the same thing. So this is one way, this is another way in which we can achieve. So I suppose the way to look at it is that we are replacing all of this, instead of writing all of this out, we just have this one. Now you may think that why go through all of this hassle? You can easily just write MMDDYY. The advantage of this is that now once you have this query all set, all you need to do is, if there is a particular format we want to print our data out, we just need to change this style, right? So if we go back to, let's go back to the list. Let's say we want to print out the current date and time as, so this is going to be DD, and then it's going to show the month. I believe it's going to print out the name of the month and the year. So style 6. So let's go to style 6. And we can easily just change that there, but I'm just going to, so let's change this to 6. And now when we run this, it prints, it's in July 20, right? So the first, the date, the month, but the first 3 characters, and then 2-digit year, all right? If we wanted another, let's say, and you can on your own also just try out whichever any of this. Let's say 10 USA. So let's copy this again and paste, and let's switch this to 10. So now it prints the 07, 18, 20 with a dash rather than a forward slash, right? Let's try one more. Let's see a date and time, because so far that's just date. So we have this for date and time. It's going to show you the AM or PM, and the code is, the style is 22. So let's change this to 22. And when we run this, so now we see the dates and the time, right? And again, this will be faster because we had to remember, we had to like format. If we look at I believe it's somewhere here, we had to do all of this, type out all of this DDMMYY, HH, MMTT, and all of that. But all of these could have been replaced, because what we have here is really what we have here, right? I believe so. I'm gonna run both together. Yeah, you know, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a bit different in terms of the alignment of month, day, and all of that, but essentially it's the same thing, right? So all of this DDMMYY is now, just by typing out 22, it replaces all of this, right? So this could be a faster way, and we can, of course, apply this to our table as well. It's just going to be the same thing. Yeah, and I would say you try that out, and just use any style that you want and apply it to the messenger table or messenger table.